So next up, podcast listeners, banning ESG in Florida. That's right. I didn't say MSG. I said ESG. So Governor Ron DeSantis, this is the New York Post, has banned ESG agenda. He's banned the agenda of them from the state pension investments of Florida. So what does that mean? This is important. This is important because this goes to how people are going to be controlled, ironically, with their own money. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has banned the state's pension funds from considering so-called environmental, social, and governance standards, otherwise known as ESG, when making investments for retirees. So I just want to explain this before I read on. So states have pension funds. Those pension funds are from the teachers' unions or from the teachers and or from the state employees. And so the state creates these pension funds, the people pay into them, hopefully, and the state sometimes adds money to it. So then you have a pretty massive fund over a period of time. That fund has to be invested somewhere so that the pensions can be paid of the retirees when they retire, as well as, by the way, the health insurance. And so the goal of these pension funds is to really earn money so that they remain solvent. That's it in a nutshell. But there's this thing called environmental, social, and governance standards, also known as ESG, that is finding its way into the pension systems and other big, large investments. Governor DeSantis, who has frequently blasted businesses for engaging in woke politics, aka Disney, is chairman of Florida's 3-member state board of administration and had personally backed a resolution imposing the ban that was passed on Tuesday. The resolution directs fund managers to instead invest state resources in a way that prioritizes the highest return on the investment. Imagine that. Without considering what DeSantis described as the ideological agenda of ESG guidelines. So DeSantis is saying, look, the goal of the pension investment system is to make money and to keep it solvent so they can continue to pay health insurance and retirees, which is the deal that they made when they paid into the retirement system. Its goal is not to be involved in ESG investments, which are risky in many cases, and some cases don't make money at all, but lose money. Corporate power, according to DeSantis, has increasingly been utilized to impose an ideological agenda on the American people through the perversion of financial investment priorities under the euphemistic banners of environmental, social, and corporate governance and diversity, inclusion, and equity, DeSantis said in a statement. With the resolution we passed today, the tax dollars and proxy votes of the people of Florida will no longer be commandeered by Wall Street financial firms and used to implement policies through the boardroom that Floridians reject at the ballot box. Look, this is why I read this article, because of that statement. So Florida has a resolution that passed that says the tax dollars and the proxy votes of the people of Florida will no longer be commandeered by Wall Street financial firms and used to implement policies in Florida through the boardroom that Floridians rejected at the ballot box, aka Disney. Remember Disney? Disney tried to do the exact same thing. Well, we're Walt Disney. We're like this massive corporation, and we may be headquartered in Burbank, but we have this massive presence in Orlando. And you, Florida, cannot pass bills unless you get our approval first. And of course, DeSantis threw them aside and said, say goodbye to your tax status, your special tax district status. Bye-bye. And now DeSantis is saying, hey, look, if we have $100 billion in a pension fund in Florida and we want to invest it in Wall Street, what we are not going to allow is that $100 billion to be put forth for social, corporate governance and diversity, inclusion, and equity stuff and environmental stuff, and only those things. Rather, we want it to be spent to make money. And this is, to me, the exact kind of governor we want in America. Again, back to the article. The resolution marked the latest instance of DeSantis' confrontational relationship with corporations that attempt to wade into political issues. The Florida governor famously clashed with Disney executives earlier this year after CEO Bob Chapek publicly opposed Florida's Republican-backed Don't Say Gay law, which, of course, the law never said. But here's what I think is interesting. Throughout my entire life, all I've heard is the Democrats that I know say, Republicans are the party of big business. Republicans are, the guys that are in the back room smoking cigars and making all the money, and the Democrats are the poor people. When in fact, the modern 21st century Republican Party is actually the party in America that is fighting these large corporations who are extremely powerful and think that laws don't apply to them and that they can circumvent laws with your money that's working against you and not win at the ballot box, but just control you financially. So we have a Republican in Florida and the entire Republican Party that is fighting against these large corporations and this woke corporate power. So the parties, the Democrat Party and the Republican Party, have managed to flip one century over another. Because the modern Republican Party of the 21st century is the party of the working men and women. Emphasis on working men and women. And to protect them from this overbearing and out of control corporate power that is corrupting our politics at the state level and at the federal level. Just to give you an idea, Florida's 30 state pension funds have approximately $240 billion under management. Think about that. If I handed to you, because you were a money manager, $240 billion, okay? You deposited that check in your bank. And I said to you, I need you to earn money on this $240 billion so we can continue to provide payments to our retirees who are retiring every single day in Florida who once worked for the state or the counties. And so I need you to earn money on this so it remains solvent so people can have a comfortable retirement. That was the deal that we made. So here's $240 billion. Go manage it. And you then say, well, I'm only going to invest the $240 billion in climate change initiatives only. And you're like, no, that's not what I asked you to do. I asked you to invest the $240 billion in the things that actually make money, like safe investments that generate income that we can use to pay retirees as they retire. And so DeSantis is saying, we're not going to allow you to use our pension money against us and to try to put us out of business and use even some of the pension money to hire attorneys and lobbyists in Washington to undermine the voters in Florida. It makes perfect sense, and it should make perfect sense to everyone that's out there. So good for DeSantis for doing this, and even better for the Republican Party that we are solidifying our hold on the working men and women, emphasis on the people that are actually working and go to work every day and love to work and live for their families and work for their families. Those are the people that we represent. The Democrats represent the big corporations and the people who are on the couch, period. It's really that simple.